You are listening to The Bollop, a New York history podcast, where I, rider of the BX-10, rider of the storm, read a vignette, a piece of New York history to a boy in the Bay.
Your victim.
Chris.
And I have no idea what the story is going to be about.
Exactly. Good. You know the rest of it. We have no idea what the story is. Okay. So today we are brought to you by, unfulfilled expectations.
Jesus Christ.
In our government.
Dark fast. Is this because of the spending bill?
This is because of many bills and lack thereof. That's what we're brought to you by. That's what brought us here, because we got to laugh and we got to preserve our history, as sometimes as silly as it is, as important as it is, because one day we may be the Republic of New York and Chris will be in the Republic of California, and there will be a whole country in between us. I don't know, man.
And how will we cross that divide if Southwest can't get its shit together?
Southwest can't get its shit together. Just got to ride that D. Ride that Delta.
Unbelievable.
As we're brought to you by that, hopefully one day we're brought to you by something that makes money, But right now, we're brought to you by that. But we're also brought to you, of course, by hope. And hope does not have a price.
Yeah, for sure.
2014. The year of our Lord, baby Jesus.
What a time to be alive. I remember 2014.
Yeah, it was kind of a shitty year, actually.
We had just forgotten about Coney 2012.
Oh my God, Coney 2012. Motherfuckers act like the world was gonna fucking change the next day, and it was like, we just woke up, and it was like, okay. Well, what was supposed to happen exactly? And then,
Coney 2012? That was about the warlord.
Yeah, I know. But like the preview was like a fucking Halo game. It was like
I don't remember.
All epic and shit.
This I don't remember at all.
Side note, whenever that happens, we know there's a problem. Like, when you hype up something that, like, okay, you're not fucking Top Gun Maverick. Like, that gets hype. The Yankee end of the season highlights. That gets hype.
Uh-huh.
But when I was, like, applying for this insurance job, and they were like, actually, I wasn't even sure at first it was insurance, but they were like, you could open your own business and all this. They said, watch the videos before you interview. I watched these videos. Motherfuckers were on stage. They were singing. They were crying. There were thousands of people. They were acting. I'm like, no.
That's crazy.
This is insurance.
That's crazy.
This is insurance. So the second you see like that disproportionate, it's like, all right, we know this is gonna be a dub. Okay, we know it.
That's a cult.
It's basically a cult.
At that point.
And then that guy like go crazy from Coney 2012, like he was fapping in the middle of the street.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you brought back a whole bunch of shit.
Dude, we got to teleport back 10 years ago, because that was fun, right? Like watching that unfold on Facebook, having to refresh the fucking Facebook page in order to see what updates there were on the.
That's what it used to be like.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I'm getting fucking random ass suggestions for, Maud's knitting group in Montana for some odd reason.
I know. I get a lot of like Harry Potter group suggestions, and I'm just like, I can't with this. Like, why? I've never shown even a passing interest in Harry Potter. Why would you recommend a fan page to me?
Right. I think sometimes they just throw something out there like, okay, let's make sure he doesn't like this.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either. I mean, I know you're a meta boy. I will not ask for anything deep. Nothing deep in the paint. but it is interesting to me. There was a time when, all right, kids, there was a time when your feed, I know this sounds crazy, was actually just your friends. And it was in the order, stay with me, in the order that they posted shit. Isn't that fucking nuts?
Yep, crazy.
Now I'll see a post from like 3 days ago. Just because it got enough attention. Also, Instagram does that on the Explore page all the time. Horrible with sports. I'll see like Aaron Judge re-signed with the Yankees. It's been 2 weeks.
Okay, so it's not a news platform, the Explore page.
No, but
it's just an engagement platform.
It is an engagement platform, but it's engaging me with sports pages that have horrible updates, and also it's not no, but it's engaging me with an old post. It's not necessarily always that they're delayed the account. It's that they're engaging me with an older post. It's not like some guy just woke up out of a coma for 2 weeks and was like, oh shit, Aaron Judge is on the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
you're right.
Year of Our Lord, 2014, November the 9th. An event took place in our beloved to hate Metropolitan Trifling Authority, MTA, that will always live in infamy. An act, a sound that resonated across the bellows of the subway system, pizza, rats, rat co-ops, cops.
I'm trying so hard to think about what this could have possibly been.
Transport lines across 4 boroughs. I don't know if you may have heard of it. I'm going to say 50-50 that you heard of it versus you didn't. You might have. Yonkers, New Jersey, and even the place from where the Wu-Tang Clan came. Wu-Tang Clan came. Of course, that is the only part of Staten Island that matters. But before we review this event in our city's history, we must go further back for some context. All right. The son of a trucker, Michael Hoban, grew up working class on the mean streets of South Boston, known as Southie, during the 1950s.
Now, I'm just going to stop you right there. Doesn't that sound like a slur?
Southie? Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
It's a little, I know it's nothing, but it sounds a little rough.
But mind you, Boston is the town that called Boston's, every baseball player at least says Boston's the worst. If you're black, it's the worst town to play in. And
what fucking shocker that is.
They called Carl Crawford a Wednesday, which I don't even know in what dictionary of racial epithets you need to know that that's a slur. I didn't. When me and my boy Stan talked about it, Weed was like, where the fuck did they pull that out their ass?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't even know. Like, what's wrong? Wednesday, I like Wednesdays. Also, it's my lucky day, apparently, according to the thing that says Sagittarius and lucky numbers. Not that I care about it, but I like Wednesday. So I also have no idea why that has a negative connotation. Anyway, so no shortage of odd sounding, racial slurs in this area. But Michael was the leader of Boston's Warriors teenage street gang. And, I'll just say violence will follow this jacket that we're about to talk about.
Okay.
That's the first clue. Hoban served in the Marine. This guy.
I'm gonna be kicking myself when you finally get around to tell me what this is, because I'm sure I know it.
Yeah. So Hoban had a really diverse background. He served in the Marine Corps, studied aeronautical engineering, and then lived in Aspen, Colorado. And in Aspen, he became a clothing designer.
Okay.
Bro.
Okay.
Marines, aeronautical engineering, clothing designer. Steve Barnes is looking down. He's a little confused.
Because of what? The primal urge to design clothes?
Because of all these factors that are kind of coming together from different areas. But fellow Marine. Okay.
Steve,
So he made...
Steve Barnes wasn't looking down at anything yet.
Okay. So in Colorado, Homer made a pair of leather bell bottoms that led to the founding of the North Beach Leather Company. Although initially hesitant to expand business to continue his role designing clothes, he ended up opening a shop in LA. So Hoban starts making primarily 3 items. Leather jeans, which I've never worn leather jeans.
Now, that can't be how that works. Because by definition, jeans are not made of leather.
Denim.
So you...
Unless you... This is going to sound crazy. Unless you have the inside be denim and there's leather on top. I don't know.
I mean, I guess I can visualize it if you want to call it that. But what I'm imagining is probably the least comfortable pair of pants ever made. I already when I see people wearing leather pants, I'm like, which is not a common occurrence, by the way. But when I see that, all I can think to myself is that looks like it sucks. Like, I don't even know why you would put yourself through wearing those around. Imagine if you start sweating, because you will.
You're gonna stick to your own pants.
Yeah, and your own pants are gonna stick to you.
Right.
And there's gonna be nothing that you can do when you got to get out of them at the end of the day. You're gonna be stuck like that for the rest of your life.
Right. You're gonna spend $100 and need a pocket knife to get the goddamn thing off you. So leather jeans or pants, a Levi's style jacket, and a double-breasted, knee-length Edwardian coat. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but
I'm gonna look it up right now.
And also look up leather jeans while you're at it.
I'm gonna try. Okay, that'll probably put me on a list.
We're coming close to you, Chris. In 1967, small shop moved to San Francisco's North Beach district.
Hell yeah!
Which he took the company name.
Leather jeans are just leather pants, as best I can tell by looking at them.
All right. Edwardian jacket sounds like something I would wear, like, to impress the ladies in, like, the 18th century.
I have a feeling that's exactly what that means.
All right, that's one way to stunt.
Yep.
So he started to take off now. He had
like a horseback riding Edgar Allan Poe looking motherfucker.
Hey babe, maybe you'll be my inspiration for an absolutely terrifying horror story. So customers vary. This is a wide range. Listen to this. Hell's Angels, Janis Joplin, Grateful Dead, Jim Morrison, The Who, Tina Turner, Rolling Stones, The Beatles, Elvis Presley, Mike Tyson, Dolly Parton, Frank Sinatra. That's a spectrum.
All customers?
All the fans of his clothing. Interesting.
Okay.
So in addition to some success, ran into some problems, some negative connotations started to become associated with the jackets that he was making. They were such hard commodities that they were part of a lot of robberies in NYC. So the clothes were nationwide, even if the stores weren't necessarily. People were getting these in major cities, as a show of being fashionable. They were part of robberies. They were part of shootings for things like, modern day Jordans. I mean, people probably still get robbed for jackets, but right now it's like people get robbed for phones mostly, maybe Jordans, but this was...
I've heard of people getting robbed for their shoes, but it's been a really, really long time since I heard of that happening.
Right. Well, that's one thing the pandemic decreased. Anyway, so then there started to become a counterfeit market because they're so popular. They're becoming, for the jackets, there became a counterfeit market. And he ended up suing all these counterfeit companies, and they reached a few settlements. But the jackets he started making also were kind of split. Like, some people thought they were really stylish, but they were also mocked on Seinfeld. I actually remember this episode. This is all through the 80s and 90s, by the way. So Seinfeld, it's early 90s. A lot of the thefts were happening in the 80s.
Sure.
So there's a character in the episode that's supposed to try to be cool, but is wearing the jacket, and you'll see which jacket I'm talking about.
This isn't Kramer that we're talking about.
It wasn't Kramer.
It's crazy.
It was a different character, and it was supposed to represent someone who's uncool, though. It was cool enough that people were jacking this shit and getting shot. And I'm not saying that's what makes something cool, but clearly it was in high praise with some people.
Okay.
Right. So all this baggage comes with the jacket. Before the internet and its viral place in New York culture. And by which jacket, I'm talking about the Magic 8-Ball jacket.
Okay.
That starts anything for you.
I'm gonna I have to look it up because okay.
The Magic 8-Ball leather jacket.
I see it, and not only have I never seen this before in my life. It's like
wait, don't Google it because it'll have the rest of the story.
No, I just looked it up. I just looked up a picture of it.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Okay, I got rid of it
because it has a strong connotation, like Black Air Force Ones. So,
do you want to explain for any listeners who don't already know? Please explain Black Air Force energy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
We're not talking about the president.
So, Black Air Force Ones are considered to be the shoes of choice for someone who will be, let's say, someone who may push the envelope, who may be prone to instigating violence, who may not just be a pleasant person, perhaps, to be around.
If the kid with the black AF1 says, "Don't be on the bus tomorrow," you stay home.
Yeah, you stay home.
You stay home.
By the way, I did used to have a pair because I like that. It took them a while to look like they got fucked up, unlike the white ones, which you could tell when they got fucked up very quickly.
Yeah, like 5 seconds out of the box.
Yeah. But
yeah.
White Air Force Ones will always be, to me, the number one sneaker of all time. Like it to me, it's perfect. It's my shoe version of the old M3. I think the E83, right? That's the 2003 one, whichever. It's my shoe version of that. So yeah. So it has, but we're gonna get into why these connotations have been made. So, that's what I wanted to add to this. So the origins of this jacket actually are pretty simple. He was playing, Tobin was playing pool or watching someone play pool, just looked at the pool balls and thought, that's going to look great on a jacket. And
in fairness, it did.
And it does. And no, it looks good. And he put on a leather jacket. And I love leather jackets. Leather jackets always look good. It's hard to mess up.
Wrong. Shockingly, that's incorrect. Because if you put a leather jacket on me, it does not look good.
That's not true. We just got to find you the right one.
Don't you worry about it. It is true.
Okay, and that's my next mission when I go to San Francisco. We're getting you.
Totally okay. Because you know what? I don't want one. You know what I've discovered is that if a leather jacket doesn't look good, a denim jacket does.
I think the 8-Ball would actually look good. So on November 9th, 2014, we are coming back to the initial segment of our
yes, 2014.
November 9th, 2014. Several women on the Metropolitan Trifling Authority's creation of the F train. F for fucked up.
Train. Do you want to know something crazy?
Yes.
In my time, my entire life living adjacent to New York City.
Yes.
And in a relatively brief time living in New York City, I don't think I ever stepped foot on the F train. And I've been on the PATH train.
Yeah. I mean,
and there ain't no reason to go on the PATH train unless you live in New Jersey.
Right. Well, it goes through the village. Willie and I used to take the F when we would go to part of Brooklyn. I think this was the gallery in Dumbo. And we also took it there. So lower Manhattan, parts of Brooklyn. but this is in Greenwich Village. And I'm going to decide, I decided not to give names because the person that's at the center of this, I feel bad for. I mean, obviously, if you Google this whole thing, you could find out, but I'm not adding to associating his name with what's happening because he clearly doesn't like it. So just giving that heads up, but I'll find other ways. He's just trying to move on. So several women appears in a video. Seems like a group of 4 are jockeying the guy wearing the 8-ball jackets. I'll just say 8-ball. Okay. So wearing 8-ball jacket.
So they're like, yo, what is with this fucking drip?
Right. So for those who don't know, jockeying is mocking someone. But for New York City, this is prime. But jockeying is like prime time New York City mocking. So they are roasting him. They're roasting how he speaks. They're saying his jacket is corny and from the 90s. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with that? Also, the funny thing is that the way fashion works is everything gets redone. Retro always comes back. So
that's true. But yeah. I think, dude, the 90s were not a cool thing 10 years ago. And honestly, I think we're still in the middle of like that little 80s resurgence that was going on for a while there. We're at the tail end of that. We're just getting into a 90s resurgence now, right? We got the 90s, that 90s show is about to come out, all that stuff.
Right.
So 10 years ago, I could believe someone looking at this and being like, all right, this fucking sucks. Because you know what? If you don't appreciate these things normally, and then you just catch it somewhere out in the wild, all you're going to say to yourself is, oh my fucking God, I forgot about that thing. What a stupid piece of shit.
Yeah, but, well, first of all, obviously you should keep these thoughts to yourself, not air them out on the F train.
But if there were ever a place where someone was going to air out their thoughts, it is going to be on the subway.
Right, but for anyone that's trying to move here from, I don't know, Boise, Idaho, don't do this because you will get got. You're not supposed to. This isn't subway etiquette. I mean, you're not supposed to just randomly air out someone. And also, honestly, it's a cool jacket, but I didn't know how prolific this particular, like it was on the level of what Jordans were, at least for what I was growing up when it comes to jackets getting stolen.
Yeah.
So that's probably how it came into the consciousness of some people during the 80s and the 90s because they knew that's the jacket that everybody keeps feeling.
Their introduction to the jacket was stories about it getting stolen. Right.
So they're saying the jacket's corny. They're saying he needs to step his money game up, which is funny because they're very expensive if you get the authentic one. As we all ride the F train together, it's not an empty train. It's not like a crazy packed train, but there's a lot of people on the train. So 8-Ball is just holding on as they're sitting down now, and he's just holding on to the train pole. So there's a lot of distance between them and him. And
okay.
I can't tell you for certain, and obviously when it comes to something like this, where this is where our program, which of course we pay homage to the dollop, that we're unofficial related.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I mean, related. I would call us highly derivative.
This is where we kind of divert a bit because some of these New York stories, some of them have very, very credible sources. Some of them, like this, it's like you kind of have to aggregate whatever you can get from a few articles, shit people are saying on Reddit. Just say it, but preface it with it's on Reddit or YouTube, watching the videos. Because
there's a really wonderful quote.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a really wonderful quote, and I'm sorry I forget who it's from. I could look it up in a second here. But I remember hearing this in high school. There's either a philosopher or a historian who said, telling someone what's going to happen, there's nothing simpler. Telling you what's already happened is impossible. Wow. And I don't think there's anywhere that's truer than in local news from New York City.
That's funny.
Because you're never going to get, I mean, for anything happening anywhere, you are going to get a spin. But to get a series of events out of someone in New York City is really more like getting all of their opinions on what happened,
Right.
rather than ever being told the facts of what happened.
So I'm trying to keep it to the facts, but the thing about things like this that people need to understand is the same thing with the Seafood City brawl. It's like your information starts, and even then is limited to whatever videos happened and whoever got interviewed and whoever happened to be there at that time. It's not like this is something that was widely witnessed, widely documented, that the video started right on time or the viewers started right on time.
People doing random crap in the streets and streaming it to Twitch or Facebook Live was not really a thing until, I would say, post 2014. Like, maybe I actually don't know when Facebook Live even launched, but like, it's only a recent development for live streaming.
You're actually bringing up a good point, because this is why I introduced it with its significance in New York lore, because it was one of the first stories that it gained its fame. It would otherwise not. There may be a news article and maybe in a local paper, and probably not even the Post, which covered this, because even though the Post, I have many problems with the Post. If you're a New Yorker, it actually still is one of the big papers, like it or not. But I think that this probably wouldn't have even made that if it wasn't for YouTube. If it was just people saying shit to AM New York, they would just put this on the third page.
Sure.
But because it had a YouTube video, it had so many views, it had what we'll get to later. There's a discussion later that's pretty kind of worthy to have. But anyway, so they're jocking this guy. They're just straight up roasting him. He's holding on to the pole. They're sitting down. So there's distance here.
Yeah.
So as we're going off it now, they instigated it. We have no other information that he did. He is actually not responding much. He's being very, I wouldn't say, like, I don't know what's going on in his head if he's truly calm, but he's not really doing much. He's just like knocking it off.
Right. He's just sitting there taking the heat.
Right.
He's
like, go ahead, watch
it.
Right. He's like, sometimes if that's the best thing to do, you're never going to see these people again. And at the end, watch the video. You'll see for yourself. He's actually very calm during this time. So he's not reacting much, but the verbal assault keeps continuing. Then this is where it starts to escalate. One of the women in the group noticed that someone's filming this, and they go up to him. So now they're up, because once one of the women goes up, the rest go up, and they smack the phone out of his hand. So that's the first assault.
Okay.
Because legally, that's assault. Assault is even if you knock something, even if she didn't make contact with his hand, if you knock something out of someone's hand, that also counts as assault. It doesn't count as
sure. As we've had to learn, coughing on a person is assault. Cue coughs.
as I cough to myself. A self-assault.
That was through the microphone, man. I don't know. You might have a lawsuit coming your way.
Oh shit! All right, Solino. Let's get it rolling. So the cameraman's actually the first victim here. People forget that. All right, and I blame the camera. So I don't blame the cameraman, because this is starting to escalate. Generally, I think it's not great when you're just doing something for your entertainment to get it on the quote unquote. For those, all right, I got to talk to people about WorldStar. So before YouTube became
no. WorldStar is still a thing.
I don't think people necessarily have been on World. I think they may say the word, but I don't think they know that WorldStar was YouTube. Like E-Bomb's World was YouTube.
WorldStar was where you would put videos if you weren't sure whether or not it was going to get bumped off of YouTube for violating some community guidelines, usually due to sexuality or violence.
But YouTube wasn't what it is now. YouTube's connected to so much shit. It's the go-to. There was a time when if you wanted something, if you heard something like this happen, something that wasn't mainstream, that's where you would go, especially in urban areas. That's where you would go. If you lived in New York City, that's where you would go. Yeah. Like now you can see this on YouTube. They'll put this on YouTube now. But anyway, so that's the first assault, and now things are escalating. So now it's ignited past verbal assault, and more people are getting up and leaving the area, which is smart. They're leaving the area of the parties involved. Now that they're already up, the women who are antagonizing everyone are getting closer to 8-Ball Jacket. Especially the woman that led the barrage of Get Your Money game up. So now again, for the most part, this guy isn't doing much. He's just holding on to the pole, kind of like clapping back when he can. But then she starts to get very, very close to him, like in his personal space.
God
now,
almighty.
At that moment, he does call her a bitch. He has reserved a lot of that type of language up until them actually getting up. And now she's very close to his face. Now, after that...
It's crazy, because imagine getting that pressed about a jacket you're not even wearing.
That you're not wearing. That this man did...
Like, I can't imagine getting that stressed out about almost anything, but that of all things.
I mean, did a guy with an 8-Ball Jacket wrong this person in the past?
Yeah, Jesus Christ, what did he do? Kick your dog? What? God.
So now, after that interaction happens, where he does call her a bitch, but she is like very close to him at this point.
Okay.
He then turns around. So they separate. He turns around. Then she hits him with her heeled shoe.
Why, she takes it off and swings it?
Yeah, so she hits him with that. And then the moment that resonated throughout New York City occurred. He smacked her. And I think the F train shook when this smack occurred.
Almost set the whole train off the rails with that smack.
I mean, he was reserved until this point, but
let's regardless of who started this, it sounds like she had every opportunity to stop this tragedy from happening.
Right. And she did not only get in his face first, but she did hit him with a shoe.
There we go. There's a little ambiance.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you hear the sirens?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, wow. I didn't think you could hear that. That's cool. Okay. I mean, it could be shitty for all we know, but I didn't realize it was going to pick it up.
I'm sure one of them's just late for something.
So now an all-out fracas occurs. Like, there's even a man who has been against the door of the subway who didn't go far away, who now is trying to fight this dude as she tries to fight this dude.
What?
Yeah, he has to fight.
It's like you were assaulted and fought back, so now I'm going to hit you.
Men are weird. They'll be harmful to women, but then they'll think that they want to defend women's honor. Like, they'll do both in like 24-hour period.
Yeah.
It's like, anyway.
Maybe if I jump into this fight on behalf of this insane woman, I can sleep with her. Yeah.
You know what?
Because that's a good idea. God, can you imagine how crazy this person would be for the people in her life who she has slept with?
This is not that far-fetched. This could happen. This could be the way he thinks. Anyway, so people are running out of the car. The guy who's filming turns the camera on himself in jubilee. These are my words, because that's the only way I could describe it. Because I think what happened is
he just screaming World Star into the mic at this point?
He didn't say it, but I think what happened is he realized he caught it.
It's World Star energy for sure.
He realized he caught something that was gonna blow up.
Sure.
So
this thing can't wait to get home and put this shit on online.
Exactly. So a few others, knowing they're witnessing this World Star moment, which will be part of New York City urban lore, they still stick around. So eventually, this guy, who's a big guy, the 8-Ball Jacket's a big man, and he fights them both off.
Like big as in fat, or
no,
big as
like tall and strong.
Okay,
yeah.
See, this is crazy. This is getting crazier all the time. If I had any sympathy for this person, it's gone now.
I mean, you shouldn't pick on anyone regardless, but I think it's almost like the person thought that he would continue to do nothing.
That's crazy.
And she crossed the line.
That's crazy. I'll tell you right now, no one who gets that big does it to do nothing.
Well, the good thing is when you're that big, I think, although he did smack the shit, like that was a smack. Like as someone who has watched the Yankees for a while, and of course, Yankees have historically had some of the largest players: Stanton, Judge, CC, Betances. When you see them fight, it's not really a fight. It's more like they push the entire dugout back, and like it's more like trust me, you don't want this.
Yeah, this is
So
a
I
lot of
just
heat.
want you
Okay.
to be clear that everyone except Francisco Lindor, who thought for some reason he could fight Stanton, which was hilarious, realized this equation, except this woman and Francisco Lindor and Javi Baez. Like, but they're professional athletes.
But then there's
in
this
the
one
middle
guy.
of a heated
Then
day.
there's this one guy, right? This other
And
guy
then
is
there's
also
the
trying to jump in
guy-
and fight this guy.
Right. So he fights them both off. A few other strap hangers are kind of caught in the crossfire who decided to stay around. Yeah. So some people finally intervene. So all told, the four women, including the ringleader of Step Your Money Game Up, they all get charged, but so does 8 Ball Jacket. He also gets charged.
Oh, this is wrong.
And I think the man who jumped in too. But the guy, so 8 Ball Jacket does get charged initially. So ringleader gets charged with felony assault and disorderly conduct. One of her friends was charged with misdemeanor assault, disorderly conduct, and so was 8 Ball Jacket. But 8 Ball Jacket is later cleared of charges.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah. So ultimately, the ringleader got 2nd and 3rd degree assault if she completes 1 year of therapy, 3 days of community service, and stays out of trouble for a year. She'll be allowed to replead for misdemeanor. I hope therapy helps get to the bottom of why this 8 Ball Jacket fucked her up so bad and everybody else, and we could have entirely avoided this incident.
Uh-huh.
I hope through therapy we, get to the bottom of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not holding my breath.
So I don't know I haven't followed up on her. I haven't seen anything followed up on. I honestly don't care. Okay, so now to the aftermath. So this has millions of views on YouTube. You could, of course, look at it. You could type in 8 Ball Jacket New York City fight, whatever. You could watch the whole thing and make up your own mind. But I do believe I've given a decent representation of what happened. He was very, very passive. I shouldn't say passive, but he was very, very restrained and mostly calm until she got up in his face. Then he got verbally mad, but didn't put his hands on her until she put his hands on him with his shoe, and then he smacked her.
Sure.
And then he has to fight off random guy and her. So, but he does get cleared of charges. So now the post. So this prompted a larger conversation about self-defense where different genders and body types are involved.
Which is crazy because there's really if we have all the facts in front of us, and we don't have any reason to assume we don't at this point.
Yeah, the video's pretty clear.
The video sounds pretty clear. If we have all the facts in front of us, there's really no conversation to be had, right? It's just kind of like, don't do any of this, and then none of this happens.
I think that there is a notion that okay, this is a true conversation I had with someone. I'm not lying. This is the mom of one of my friends when I was, I think, in PS95. So I was
I'm sure this is going to be insane, yeah.
It is going to be insane. So I don't know how this topic came up because what the fuck? But what came up was literally this situation: should a man ever hit a woman, which is something that is, of course, awful and in many cases domestic violence. But the only thing I said, again, why the fuck is this conversation coming up to 12-year-olds on the bus? I don't know. But all I said is, unless she has a knife that's about to stab me. And she said, quote, "But Evan, don't you think you're strong enough to pull her hand back and not get stabbed?" I'm 12.
Strong enough to take the whole arm off if I want, I guess. So that's not really
the
point.
Isn't my life worth this? Look, I do believe that there are occasions where men should probably think about proportionality. Like, if all this woman did. So, for example, there's a video of a woman seeing her boyfriend get, like, manhandled by the police. And she doesn't get an explanation. She fights her way through. The cop kind of nudges her over. And she doesn't smack him. What she does is she puts his hand on his chest, like this. Then he punches her in the face.
Yeah.
And she goes like 10 feet. So that is disproportionate. This was not. He got hit with a high-heeled shoe with most of him turned to. He was not in a threatening position.
In a fight, he neither instigated nor really egged on. It sounds like
he did not want to continue this. So I do think that there are situations, even down to disproportionality, where, especially if you are much like physically larger, where, like I said, to go back even to the Yankees example, this is between all men. When you're that big, a lot of these guys are pretty much like, listen, you know what it is if hands were to be had. Just go away. Like, they know that they're big enough that they could just literally move the... Like, there's a video of this thing in Boston where Aaron Judge and George Stanton are moving the entire Boston dugout back. They don't throw one punch. They don't do that because that... But none of them threw their cleat at Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Judge. So, obviously, it's never a good thing to witness. I didn't actually find the whole thing funny, though I will admit some of the recaps of it were kind of funny. But the act itself was not. I still don't like to call this the slap heard around the world, because that will always be Sidney Poitier slapping Endicott saying, "They call me Mr. Tibbs." Because that was the slap heard around the world, where a black man slapped the shit out of a white man in the South in The Heat of the Night, which is a movie you should see if you haven't.
I think the runner-up is probably the guy with the Twisted Tea.
Twisted Tea's runner-up, yeah. So anyway, so this happened. Obviously, I think that it's a terrible thing for women to ever be on the recipient, but you can't have it that there's this much leeway where it's not only verbal, but it's also physical, and he always has to do nothing. That's not good either. So Hoban gets rolled into this, the designer of the 8-ball jacket. Because he's the designer. It's associated with him now, and everybody's associating the 8-ball jacket with, unfairly, with not just with toughness, but with like violence. And no one's associating high heels with violence, but they're associating, this jacket with it. And this is part of the reason why the gentleman that this happened to really wants to put this behind him and says he doesn't want to wear this jacket again. And Hoban is like, wear the jacket. You have the right to wear whatever you want. So it's kind of brought him back in, the designer back into consciousness. But it's just interesting to me that this has like followed him. Quote, "He was proud to wear it and he should have the right to," Hoban told the Post. "I'm glad he stood up for himself." He also mentions that Hoban learned how to fight himself. So the man himself who designed this was in a gang in Boston. So obviously that's much more, is a different situation. This man, he wasn't a part of gang violence here. But between the shootings around it, between this, it now obviously has a reputation, the jacket. So the legacy of this event in the Metropolitan history, that's its legacy. Like I said, similar to the Black AF ones, though somewhat unfair. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what we really learned.
I mean, in general, just mind your own fucking business.
Yeah.
It solves so many problems.
It truly does. It's not like 8-ball jacket was doing harm to like 6-ball jacket, and she felt she needed to intervene for an altruistic purpose. She just was talking shit, and then her friends were talking shit, and then they smacked the cameraman. I mean, they smacked the phone out of the cameraman, Then she got all up in his face.
There's a lot of people. It's just very interesting because I think obviously if we've learned anything over the past decade and a half or so, it's that allowing everyone to have an opinion on everything on the internet is not always a great thing, right? That's an easy conclusion to draw. But there's really people out there who didn't need the internet to get into the most pathetic, petty squabbles of their entire lives, and this is it. Like you're looking at someone who just can't handle opinions, right? That's what this is.
But it's also on both sides of this issue because this is kind of also what we were talking about earlier with the Johnny Depp case, right? It's like even if Johnny Depp legally should have had the result he had, it galvanized all these people that otherwise would have no thoughts on libel, no thoughts on abusive relationships. And unfortunately, that kind of happened here too, where a lot of men who were justifying maybe being aggressive towards women in much less circumstances also felt it also galvanized them and their voice. So it's never good. Is
that part of the legacy of this video? Do we think that that's the case here?
I'm just talking about the responses of that time.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can picture it. I think what's surprising. So for context, we were briefly, we have a group chat. We were previously talking in the group chat about how the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial that happened. Was that earlier this year? This is going to date the episode. Was that earlier this year, 2022, 2021? I forget.
It was, but it feels like it was forever.
I can't. As far as I'm concerned, it was 44 BC.
The verdict was this year. The coverage of it was probably earlier.
What struck me about it was that when it was all said and done, it turns out they're both just awful. I mean, right. I don't even know if I want to say she's more awful, because at a certain point it's like, why even bother drawing a spectrum here, right? Like, why do it? You know what I mean? Just go fucking fix yourselves. I don't care who's worse if you both suck. But what struck me about it was just like, I've never seen so many men have an opinion on something celebrity related. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen so many guys who have
an abusive, even worse, abusive relationship,
who have nothing to do with anything that you might ever see in People magazine. It doesn't cross their mind, right? Like literally the only reason they've ever even heard about Amber Heard is because she was in like Aquaman, right?
But it's really because of Johnny Depp.
Or Justice League or something like that. But I'm saying she's had relevance more recently than Johnny Depp.
She's had relevance, but Johnny Depp is the more famous, well-known person.
Of course he is. I mean, he's like an A-list actor. Of course, everybody's heard of him. But I'm just saying, like, actors and all kinds of other famous people get themselves into all kinds of deep shit on like a weekly basis, right? Earlier this year, it was oh my god, who's the guy playing Flash in the new DC movies, and he's just been going around like trafficking people and knocking shit over for like the better part of a year.
Wait, you're not talking about Ezra Miller?
I am.
Ezra? No.
Oh yeah, see, so this is what I mean. Is that like Ezra Miller spent like months and years just being a complete dick. Like the guy
I wanted to like him.
No, he's a total cock. So
okay, wait a second. I just want to pause for a fucking second. That's what you do when you. I'm sorry, I'm getting so mad, but it pisses me off. When you learn more information, you say, "Okay, I didn't know," and then you go, "Yeah, I don't want to side with the trafficker." That's it. But motherfuckers can't do that. They're like, I'm gonna ride with Kanye until he starts the concentration camps and still has albums. Yo, Graduation was dope, motherfucker. I'm in a concentration camp. It's like I don't get it. These people, if they knew you, they wouldn't even give a shit about you. Not that that would justify anything, but like I have no. I don't get it. When I grew up, I loved Bill Cosby. Loved Bill Cosby. I saw the Cosby Show as Heathcliff and Claire were the relationship I wanted when I grew up. When I saw them laying on the couch and he feeds Claire the apple, I'm like, that's so fucking romantic. That's what I want.
Stop hitting the fucking thing.
I don't give a shit. And there was this girl. There was this girl in my middle school who had the smile just like Claire Huxtable. I was all about it. Then I found out that Cosby is a fucking rapist. Now, at first, did I not want to believe it? Of course. But after a fucking few days, I was like, all right, Bill Cosby's a rapist, and I'm going to move on. And I can still love those scenes of the Cosby Show, just like Ezra Miller was great in, unfortunately, City Island, the movie we talked about earlier. That's where he got a big break, yep. And also an actor that I knew was in City Island. And then, anyway, I can move on. All right, he's a piece of shit now. That's it.
But I also want to draw attention to the fact that was the shit about Ezra Miller was actually fairly noteworthy among celebrity news this year. And you, a person who tends to somewhat keep up with these things, didn't even know about it, right? No. And so, given that, right, the amount of coverage and the number of opinions out there that I had to tolerate seeing from people who just like knew about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial was insane. Like I've never seen Reddit give this much of a shit about celebrities, right? But the second it stank of like woman hatred. Listen, I don't like Amber Heard, right? I'm sure if I met her, I'd be like, please never speak to me. Like you're so fucking crazy, right? But it can't.
Then it should be.
It's just noticeable when it gets escalated to the next level of, oh my God, look, a woman being held accountable in the news. It's like, oh, okay, all right,
also,
it's going to be all right.
Elizabeth Holmes, why don't you care about that? She was held accountable.
Right.
Oh, because a man wasn't involved. Okay. So this is not Johnny. Also, like, for those who didn't keep up with it, I didn't really keep up with it either. But there's a few things that did kind of make it through to my consciousness. One of which is Johnny Depp at one point said he wanted to kill Amber Heard. He said literally, let's burn her, like burn her alive. He texted that in a group chat. I forgot if she was in the group chat, but he texted that to some friends to this, let's burn her today. That's fucking insane. Now, is she a piece of shit too?
This is what I'm talking about. Is that it's like, man, I don't care who wins this. But, you know what I mean? Like,
the cyclical logic here. Let me tell you the cyclical logic here. And we've seen this. This isn't about that. This is about the libel case. Okay, why do you care? Because a woman was held accountable. Why do you care about that? Because in all these cases where abusive relationships happen, and all these things back and forth, a lot of times women don't get held accountable. Oh, so it's not about libel. The case was about libel. Why are you talking about something else? That is the cycle. The reason for caring, not about libel. Because this was a libel case.
I mean, I think all like celebrity reputation gore, if you want to call it that, is about something. It's about being some kind of. You have to be some level of vindictive to really be someone who consumes this stuff, right? Like but then ogling these people's lives in general is just such a strange thing, right? The paparazzi industry, right, is built on effectively violating these people's rights, right? I'm not trying to like simp for celebrities and rich people and shit, but like
no, but the paparazzi is a
to get followed around a neighborhood and have photos taken of you when it's like not really what you're, just because you have a job to act in a movie does not mean that you deserve to be followed around for the rest of your life or anything
saying
like that.
I have no personal.
So it's just that there's always an element of like, oh, how much juice can we squeeze out of like every single situation. So I know the second the case started getting traction, I'm sure the PR teams that work for Johnny Depp were like, oh my god, we can use this, right? I'm positive shit like that goes. If it didn't happen in this case, I'm sure it happens. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's just so fucking tiring. You know what I mean? Who all you have to do is just leave people alone. If you're in a fucking toxic relationship, get the fuck out of it, please. Please.
Right. If there's anything that I would take away from the Johnny Depp trial, just you don't need to know everything, you don't need to watch everything. Just from the little I know that she's fucking shit on his bed. Mocked that she shit on his bed. She mocked that women can abuse men. They can. He said he wanted to kill her. If there's anything we should learn about this, it's that people can be abusive to each other, and that is something that a lot of people can't understand.
Cruelty is really not limited to to a specific gender or race or direction or pretty much anything. It turns out anybody can be a pretty shitty person, just like how there's anybody can be a really good person. It's insane. So don't talk shit about people on the subway, because like this guy could have just been like, all right, well, I have a gun, and then we end up with 4 people dead. So we're all really lucky that this 8-ball jacket guy isn't like a fucking serial murderer or some shit, right? Like, I think these people are all lucky that guy's actually kind of nice. It sounds like.
I mean, he didn't use a closed fist.
I did look. Use a closed fist. I did look up previews of this video. I looked it up on YouTube. I'm seeing previews of it. I saw a still image of this woman before she gets hit, and she's standing in front of him, like well in his personal space.
Oh yeah.
And the idea, right, that you want to get up in the personal space of someone who has 18 inches plus on you, it like you would, maybe it's because I'm for reference, I'm an above average height person.
6 feet tall, but you
it's not by much, but man, like to find someone larger than me is like a bit of it's not an occasion, but the first thing that tends to run through my mind is like, cool, not pissing that one off. Like that's great. You stay over there.
But some people, it's not processing. It's just there's
deeper
there's a lot of deeper thoughts that hopefully
there's some deeper psychology going on here that neither of us are qualified to really comment on, I suppose. But it's just
therapy. That year of therapy.
I don't think a year of therapy solves this. I don't think a year of therapy solves this.
Well, it's better than nothing, because clearly she needed it. Everybody needs therapy, but clearly, if you feel, on a somewhat serious note, if you feel the need to express an opinion about what someone's wearing to that degree, and also, like you were mentioning, no regard for your own safety.
It can't cost you yourself. You know what I mean? Like
that's something deep.
Yeah.
So in the pantheon of New York City subway incidents, it's up there.
This is more of a parable, I would say.
Yes, because of the commentary. Really.
The commentary, the bite-sized snack that it is. I mean, I realize we spent an hour talking about it, but I mean, it's a lot of really wild shit happens on the subways. I would be willing to wager someone gets slapped across the face every single day on a subway somewhere in New York.
Right, but
on this day, it happened to be filmed. It happened to be from a really tall guy to an average-heighted woman who was talking a lot of shit
about an 8-ball jacket, which already has all of this history behind it. So there's all these things. It would be like if you got kicked, but the person who kicked you had a size 18 AF1, black AF1, and that was on camera, and it was random, and someone caught the exact moment where impact, and now you were out of the train. It's like there's certain conditions that lead to this obviously being viral. Well, don't worry about it. I'm gonna chop this Brolic up, whatever we're gonna call it.
I think we should call it
The chopped cheese.
Yeah, I was gonna say chopped cheese.
Great minds, great cack minds.
There it is.
Yeah.
We should probably come up with a different name other than involved too. The more I think about that, the more I'm like, that sucks. We should do something different.
Maybe I will call it the Brolic. I think the Brolic was the best one.
The Brolic is pretty good.
We'll just call the whole damn thing the Brolic. Why not?
Nice. Well, there you go. A twofer. We managed to get through a whole episode and a bonus content episode for the Patreon.
For the Patreon, exactly. So now that I told myself I want to get 4 for everybody listening to the internal one-day Patreon things when we make $5.75. Which would be a fucking record for me, off anything I've done.
It'd be a record for me too, man. I never charge money for anything on the internet.
That is that's multiple chopped cheeses.
Not in this hood, but
not in your hood, but in mine, it still probably get you. Well, it'd probably get you one, and then a fucking honey barbecue Snapple. But anyway, so now I want to find I told myself I want 4, and now we got like 4.5, and then I'm gonna start posting them, and I want to get a logo. So I have an idea for a logo that I'm gonna surprise you with.
I can't wait.
Yeah. And I'll probably just surprise you with it by like just launching it, and then one day you'll wake up and look on Facebook and you'll be like, "Oh my fucking god!"
It's so weird. Cut it there. Have a good night, everybody, or rest of your day, or whatever it is you're doing.
All right.